everybody, happy Friday. This is Overpass Live. My name is Eric and I make apps. Now I'm a little bit late today or a little bit early. Well, first of all, we got daylight savings. So last week in the UK, we switched the clocks back. Forward. Fall forward, spring back, spring forward, fall back. Whichever one, we changed the clock. So some of you guys are going to see this at a different time this week. So apologies. It's ruined my whole, there's like a 3-week period where everything gets synced back up. So when I talk to my family in the States, it's like 1 hour off, because I think in the States they go to daylight savings, or they come off of daylight savings this weekend. So it's, instead of being 7 hours to the Philippines, it's 8 hours. Instead of being 4.5 hours to India, it's 5.5 hours, or vice versa. I can never remember which one. I'm always confused, and I'm always daylight savings always seemed like a strange thing to me, right? It's always seemed like if you had a more, like if you said, first of all, let me see, can you guys hear me? Can everyone hear me all right? So, it always, my whole life I thought daylight savings sound like if you had told somebody that, saying, okay, so we've got this idea, like one day of the year where everyone's just going to change all their clocks at the same time. Now that we have internet, it's easier, but it's still kind of weird, It's like, why can't we just accept the fact that you just go to work at a different time, or you just start something at a different time? But anyway, it's nothing about this. This is how we talk about apps. So this is our weekly live stream where we chat about whatever we want to talk about. You guys hear me okay? Just see. Hopefully you guys can hear me. So this is the weekly live stream where we talk about whatever we want to talk about. So for me, it's been just like another busy week, but this week the kids have been off school. I only have one son at home at the moment, so he's been off school, so I've been sleeping in till 7, and it just kind of feels like I'm and I know it doesn't sound very late, but for me, I'm just always get up really early, so I was trying to get to the gym later in the day. It just feels like the whole week just flew by, right? And trying to keep up with everything, and a bunch of client projects, which is I want to talk a little bit about accessibility today, because accessibility, so being able to support accessibility is being able to support the hearing impaired or the sight impaired or whatever. There's all these different things you can do in your code, and a lot of the times we do it by default. A lot of times that platforms do it by default, and sometimes we don't. So it's something that I considered myself well versed in until this week. So which I'll talk about a little bit if we run out of other stuff to talk about. Any questions? But first, let's say, Rodrigo, you're first. Hey, how's it going? Azimuth says he's first. Hey everybody, Simon's supper time is here. Hey Steven, how's it going? UK Baz, are you in the UK? Rodrigo, nice music. Yeah, hello. So UK Baz, Chord Funk is back. Hi everyone. Hey, BizYG is here also. Yes, loud and clear. Cool. So this week, one of the things I did this week was we're doing so I can't talk about the specifics of the app because NDAs and everything like that, but we are doing something where it has to cater for sight impaired. So it was going through, and I thought we were doing a pretty good job. We do what we need to, but then seeing somebody who's sight impaired actually use the app was it was very humbling, I think, is the picture. So we got I'm looking at it thinking, oh, we got quite a bit more to do on that, right? So and there's so much you could do. If you've never tested your app using something like I think it's TalkBack on Android, and it's VoiceOver on iOS. All of a sudden, I'm blanking on the names, but it's something we've been looking into. Right? If you never tested your apps on that, it's always a good thing to do. I remember 3 or 4 years ago when I had EarSpy out, somebody contacted me and said that he was blind and he was trying to use the application, which was he's a perfect, it would be perfect for him, but he said your buttons don't have they don't work with the I'm blanking on whatever the Android is for where it speaks it to you, right? So, and basically we just were missing a parameter from the buttons and things like that. So it's something that's always it's important when you go through and test those kind of things, but it's so easily overlooked until somebody brings it to your attention. So it's something else. And the other thing I did this week, so I'm advancing in years. Oh my God, I'm advancing in years. So Like every time somebody holds up a phone to me, like whatever it is, like in a meetings or whatever, they'll say, "What do you think of this?" And you have to do that like thing. And so I've had glasses for a while, varifocals, which is like varifocals. I guess you know what they are. So the two different types, and I had some, and I've had some for about 4 years. And as soon as I put them on, the consensus, I thought they looked cool and trendy. The consensus was everybody said they make you look old. So I thought, I'm vain and shallow. Those went. But I got a new pair this week, which I'm trying to get used to. I was gonna wear during the live stream, but it's so getting used to those throughout the week. I'm gonna try to But I think they make me look maybe they make me look smarter in meetings. Maybe that'll have to be the benefit, right? So let's see. What we got? We've got James has joined us. Simon Summertime. Eric, how does GDPR and other data and privacy regulations impact your decisions as an app developer or an app producer? Good question. It's always there. It's something we're always thinking about. Every time I talk to a client, it's like in the background. And the whole thing is, I'm always saying, I am not an expert at GDPR, right? This is something that you and your legal team are going to have to research, because I'm not going to touch it, right? It's like, there's so many parts of it I consider to be so vague, right? So like if we're storing information on our server, then we have to have it in our privacy policy, and then we have to do all kinds of reporting. And then if there's a breach, then you have to report it, all this kind of stuff. And so a lot of the clients, they want to like not, whatever they can do is like not put any personal information in the database. I have one client who, and you can't put information in the database unless you have the permission beforehand. And it depends on who you talk to about how strict they want to be with it. So like one was like, okay, so what we want to do is so like an example would be in an app, we want for users to be able to go through and send a link to their app to a friends of theirs. And if the friends use the application, then you reward the first person, right? So, but in order to do that, we have to store the email address of the person who has not given us permission to store the email address. So we're trying to think of ways to do that, and maybe we just do it for like a certain period of time, and so all this stuff. And I am not a legal person. Like I am just on iOS. Well, so if you guys aren't iOS developers, they change their terms and conditions as much as they do on if you have iTunes, right? It's just they're always changing their terms and conditions. They're giving you that, whatever, 25 pages, whatever it is that you have to read, and you never read them. You just kind of go through it. I kind of, with GDPR, I'm the same. Like the less information we have to store, the better. So always thinking about that. And if it's something directed at children, then it's something that, I have to bring up in a meeting, just to make sure that they've thought about it, because I don't want to get to the point where we're saying, okay, great. I say, hey, we could do this. We could store children's information in the database, and their parents can view it and see the progress and all this stuff. And then we get towards the end of the project, and they're like, oh, what about GDPR? So like something that I want them to look into all the time. And it's like, and sometimes I totally pass the buck on that one. I'm like, I am not a legal person. I am an app developer. I am the one who's going to help you get this. I don't know your clients. I don't know your, a lot of times I don't know your clients. I don't know your business. I don't know your end users. I don't know the legal ramifications, but I know the technology. We know the technology, so we can build it. So a lot of times I'll push back on that. And sometimes I'll get a lot of questions related to legal things, like they'll ask about copyright or how to file a patent. And it's like, I don't know any of that stuff. I know that if somebody copies your stuff, you could get them removed from Google Play, because I've had to do that several times in the past. James is here. Hey, James, how's it going? Genio, hi, sir. Hey, Genio, how are you? Appavelli, are you planning on releasing any new apps soon? Only client applications. So, yeah, that's I'm not none of my own. But yeah, I have some that there's so many that I need to update. And not just update, but I want to actually do. You get to the point where you're doing so much stuff for clients. If you work as an app developer, or if you work as a web developer, you work as a software developer for anybody else, at some point you start to think, why am I doing all this for all these other people when I could be doing it for myself as well? But you get onto that treadmill of, you have to pay the bills, do everything like that. So we don't have any of our own apps actually, like anything new in the works. And it's a point where it's not that there's no ideas. It's like if I invest in it, like I'm either gonna have to hire some developers or get some of my developers to do it. But like all the good developers are working on all the the client projects. So I could either do that or do it myself, but then I have to clear my schedule, and that's something that, that's my own. Those are my own personal demons. Like I have to get better at delegating. I have to get better at a lot of different stuff. Oh, by the way, speaking of delegating, today is All Saints Day in the Philippines. So today has been all by my lonesome today. So Julia's not moderating moderating the live stream. So if you guys want to call me names, go ahead. It'll get through. So let's see. UK Baz. Oh, sunny Wigan in the northwest. Nice, UK Baz. Let's see. Mega Man 2016 is 18th. Fist007 says, have you ever had to update a client project and the source code were lost? No, I'm a real stickler for that. Like I've lost source code before, and I've had clients come to me and they said they don't have source code. This is something that happens from time to time. They'll come and they'll say, look, our other developers were terrible. We fell out. We had a big disagreement, and can you just build this? Can you fix whatever the issues are? I said, do you have the source code? And they say no. And I think, well, we kind of need the source code, and we need the key store file. In fact, more than the source code, we need the key store, so we can release an update, because we can rewrite the whole thing and just black box it. It would be expensive, but it's doable. But without the key store file, we're talking about releasing a new application, unless they're using that new method, which I've never used. The Android one, it's been out for years. Being able to store your key store file in Google Play, but I've never had to do it where we lost the source code, and it's mainly because I'm a stickler. In order for the developers have to check everything in, and almost every single time I'm the one doing the compilation. I'm doing the compiling. I'm doing the releasing. And one of the reasons behind that is almost like a safety net, because I know that everything's there. Everything's in Git. If I just the danger would be, and it's so tempting, because they'll say, why don't they say I'll have trouble building it. So a good example would be a React Native project that developers are doing, and they check everything in and say everything's good, and then I download or whatever, I pull the latest version from Git, I run the compilation, and then it doesn't build, right? And I'm just like, okay, so I have to go back. So what am I doing wrong? I did the npm install, I did everything, and now which node version are you on? Which all this kind of stuff, and then eventually a developer will say, why don't I just release it? And I said, no, because if I release it, at least I know I have everything I need, right? If whatever happens, you don't want to get in a situation where you're and it's so tempting. It's so tempting when they say, why don't I just release it for you? Part of me is like, yeah, I spent hours on this. I've been in dependency hell for hours, and it's so tempting to say, yeah, okay, let me just get you access to that account. But it's better if I do it. It's better if I do it, because then at least we know we have everything, right? We know we can compile everything, unless there's some embedded library somewhere, and there shouldn't be, because I check over the code. And if there is, it shouldn't be something proprietary. It should be something that either open source or whatever. Then at least that way I could do it. So luckily, I've never had that problem, and because we use Git through Bitbucket, everything goes there. So I do not. Yeah, there's something, especially with junior developers, they want to just zip up the code and send it to you. You're like, that's what clients do. You as a developer, you should know how to put it into Git. Or I even had developers not know how to check something. They pulled the repository from Git, and they probably just downloaded it. Actually, they probably didn't even pull it, because then when they came trying to do it, they tried to send me the zip file, and I was like, no, just check it back in. That way I have a history. If you're a developer and use any kind of source code control, you have a history, so you can say from this version to this version to this version, what has changed, right? And then what they did, these one developer, it was I really I didn't work with them again, because it was just because of this. And then they created a new repository and checked it into that. So all of a sudden now I had to do merging myself, all this kind of stuff, and it's just, so yeah, that's one of the things. If a developer doesn't know how to use basic, git clone repository name, whatever, git push, git add dot, or git add whatever file, git commit, and then the whatever put a message. There has to be a message, right? And then get push. If they don't do that on a regular basis, then I do get a bit cross about that. A bit cross. You know what? I never used to say get a bit cross. Like, that's an England thing. That's something I picked up since moving over here all these years. My kids used to say that. Daddy, are you cross? And I was like, no, I'm not cross. I'm mad. Let's see. Rodrigo says, Eric, if it's a web app, you could run Chrome Developer Tools audit, and it has a thing just for accessibility. Oh, cool. Yeah, I've been. Yeah, I know they do have, like, looking at something. This is one of the things, like, with CSS and you know, it used to be back in the old days where all you could see was trees for miles and miles. We used to do a lot of our layout in HTML tables. And some people still do, especially older developers, right? But you should be using CSS because, and it goes to, a lot of it has to do with the accessibility, the programmatic reading of those web pages that it has to do. And also things like putting text in an image. You know, you never do it if you don't have to. Let's see. Smash Highlight says voiceover is called semantics in Flutter. Is it really? Is it? Oh, maybe, you know what? Because we're doing it. It's a native application that we're doing, and I was tempted to do Flutter, but they specifically wanted native. Let's see. Chord Funk, yo Eric, yo Chord Funk says I've been thinking a lot lately about abstractions and levels of indirection lately. Where do you draw the line? Abstraction. So abstractions. You talking about like code abstractions, like loose coupling and things like that? Is that what you're talking about? I think there has to be a point where you have to draw a line in the sand and say, you know, this is what we're gonna do. I can remember having a manager. I mean, that's what we're talking about, like dependency injection and being able to loosely couple code. Like, I would always be the case where I wanted to have my like this, especially with web development and server development, where I wanted to have my tiers separated really well. And I was like using dependency injection, so that way, if we ever went from SQL Server to MySQL, we'd only have to write one part of it, the data access component, right? And I remember having a manager get upset with me because he thought I was making it too complicated unnecessarily. And when you try to say that, yeah, but if we ever use a different database, we could do it. He says that's never gonna happen, right? And I like having that separation. But again, yeah, you could go so far with it, right? If you read a book like if you read anything about, I'm looking for my book over there on design patterns. There's a lot, like some really good books on design patterns. And when they took one, it was like the decorator pattern, and it was almost like from an academic perspective, it made a lot of sense. You know, you don't have to keep recompiling everything, but you know, sometimes you just want to do just a simple, let's not overthink this. Let's just do a simple class. But and it doesn't improve. You know, yeah, that's the thing. It improves. That kind of stuff is really good because it improves. It doesn't really improve the speed of the application. It definitely doesn't improve the speed of development. But like when you go and do something else later on, then you will. So then it'll be easier. So let's see. And then also Chord Funk says, do you think people tend to make two abstract classes and objects when the abstraction really does nothing to improve the software? I think so. I mean, what I really liked about abstract classes was, God, when did I use abstract classes? I use a lot of it in Silverlight. I don't use it so much I mean, I know I should, but like when you have two objects or like when you have one function that needs to operate on different types of objects, and you want that base object to be passed in and everything to work the way that it should. So almost like, yeah. Oh God, you know what? This is almost going back to interview land. So the difference between, I'm thinking interfaces, actually. I'm thinking interfaces. So interfaces, abstract classes, and inheritance. Yeah, let's see. Fist07 says, my glasses look cool on me. Thank you very much. Maybe I will wear my glasses, even though it's like I get like a headache after a while. I got them yesterday. I'm just getting a little bit that. Genio says, hi Eric, sir. I'm from India and I make Android tutorial. Yeah, everybody asked me to make an Android tutorial, and you know what? I might not be that good at actually coding in Android. Like I'm just, you know, I almost feel like I might let people down because there'll be some, like, you're gonna abstract classes. Like, what if I don't use an abstract class when I'm supposed to use an abstract class? I'm just like, just get it done, get it developed and out the door, but make sure the code is clean. There's certain things that you just get, like, after a while of practice. Like, if you ever look at a junior developer's code and it's like all in one class file, or the functions are way too big and they just don't make sense. Flutter is a good example of that. You could do your entire Flutter application in the main.dart, right? Like, that's not the way you should do it. And I was doing a lot of Flutter video stuff last weekend, and I really like being able to pull it out and encapsulating it and have the callbacks and just so taking, like, for me, I didn't want to have the scaffold and the app bar in every single page I went to, which, like, you shouldn't have to. So as I wanted to make that consistent, so I have an interface there, so I inherit from that and do that. So I think it's pretty cool. So let's see. Fisto said they make you walk the talk like this. Oh, you like to subscribe on the whiteboard? Yeah, you know what? I got paper for the whiteboard today just because I don't want the glare from the lights. And the reason the whiteboard is there to block the window with the door. So and then I thought I should put something on it. I'll put subscribe on it. So, and make sure you smash that like button, as Julia would say if she was here. So Jesse says, how's Brexit going? Ha ha ha. Dude, Brexit. You know what? A couple weeks ago, I thought, that's it. We're actually, you know what? I don't care if they stay in or get out or whatever. I just need to do something. And I think a lot of people feel that way, right? I think there's going to be pros and cons of both. And it's just get on with it. I mean, a lot of people were, and it's, what, I'm finding that clients they're not as shy to start new projects now as they were back in March. I think back in March, everybody was just kind of a wait and see type of thing. And then when it didn't happen in March, then it was like, everything's kicked back up again. Everything, like the economic engine, in my opinion, at least in terms of my business, it started to kick back up again. We started to get more inquiries, more stuff coming in, and we didn't get that slowdown on the build up to the 31st. So yesterday, the 31st of October, which was supposed to be the deadline, and I guess now it's what is it, January, end of January, and there's going to be an election. So there's going to be an election. I'm not a citizen, so I don't vote in the election. So I have no. I've never gone the citizenship route. I'm still an American citizen, even though I've been here over 20 years. I've just never done that. So part of me, even though I've been here such a long time, and I'm going to get to the point where I've been here longer than I've been in the States, I still consider myself to be an American citizen and kind of like, just as an outsider, I suppose, even though it's where my kids grew up. It's where I've lived for such a long time, where I learned to code, where I learned to, my company's here, and maybe I should just own it. Maybe it's my fear of commitment. That's why I can never get a tattoo. It's a fear of commitment. So Genio says, hey Eric, how much money do you make with your only Android apps? Genio, I don't have any apps that are only Android, but most of my revenue comes from Android, which but on a per user basis, I think iOS pays more. There was a good article this week, I think by I was looking at it earlier today. Let's see if I can find it. Julia sent it to me earlier about from Hacker Noon. Let me just share my screen here. It was like 5 key mobile stats app developers should know. But I talked about just basically listed a bunch of App Annie stats, and basically what it came to say was, on a per user basis, iOS users pay more. But what I find is I still find iOS much more difficult to get an app on there, even though Google's getting more. I think Google's getting a bit more strict. I mean, they're definitely getting more strict. Let's see, Jesse, Flutter or React Native? I've never heard of either of those, Jesse. Let's see. James says, I'm starting out on a new app and I've come to the conclusion I'm a terrible mobile app designer. On a budget, where would you look? Fiverr, Upwork? Any suggestions? I'd go with Upwork. I've never used Fiverr, right? And I think one of the things about Fiverr is I've used it once. I used it because to do some backlinks to my app page, right? And I don't know if it worked or not. I don't know how successful it was, but the whole thing about Fiverr is, it seems like nothing costs $5, right? And I think if you went to Upwork, you would have their whole profile and everything, and you could see like who's, what kind of people, like what kind of the style, like look at the style if they have a portfolio. If it's a designer and doesn't have a portfolio, do not hire them. I've done that, right? And I was like, it was just like a bad experience when I've gone through and hired like somebody. I just thinking, well, they say they're a designer, right? And I'm me not being a designer, what do I know? I'm just gonna say, do you use Illustrator? They say yes. I said, perfect. You're a perfect match, right? And they have no sense of style, and it's got to be very iterative to go back and forth on that kind of stuff. So yeah, James, I also am a terrible designer when it comes to mobile. So I'm really good at doing the wireframes, but not. So what I'll do is I'll give the wireframes. I'll give them to Sandy, our designer, who's still on maternity leave, but she does a little bit here and there, so that we could get some sort of mock-ups there. And but at least with the wireframes, you can go through the journey. Now, as a developer, I think you're probably the best person to put the wireframes together. So you could think, what's the best user interaction? So this is one of the things where, so I was considering getting somebody like a UX, just somebody who just does UX, user experience. And, I don't know, I don't want somebody to take that away from me. I like the flow of how the app should work. And as a developer, I want to kind of dictate that a bit more, okay, the first screen you'll see is this. That way you have everything in view, and you have this. And I don't want anyone to change the flow of the application. I just want them to make it look better, which is, I suppose, could be belittling to designers a little bit. I would think, but let's see. But yes, JC says, how do you manage your key store? Do you store them in the clients in case they lost it? Do I store them for the clients? Yeah, most of the time I'll put them in Git. So I make sure that we have them in the Git repository, so at least we have those there. And it probably doesn't need to be in Git because it should never change, right? I'll never need to go back to a future version of it, but at least it's there. Now what you can't do, and I've done this in the past, is you can't include it in the code of your app. What you don't want it to get is released inside the APK, because I've done that before where I've got emails from Google, but it was like a year after. I guess they had some sort of algorithm going that said you need to remove the key store file from within the APK. So it was like I just put it in the root of the code. So usually my project structure is I'll have a code folder and then a keys folder or key store file folder. It's not that consistent. And then I'll have a scripts folder, which would be if I have something that copies files from one to another, or image resizing. I do a lot of. Core Funk says my Git comments have terrible. Git comments have terrible descriptions. Yeah, me too. Especially, if you push something to Git and then you just had to change one. If you're pushing to Heroku or Lambda or Microsoft App Services, the ones that you're not actually FTPing onto a server and copying the code. You push it and it will take it, run run the package.json, install everything, and it just does everything for you. When you do something like that, you see a bug and you have to keep pushing it to Git in order to do it. That's when the comments get a bit ridiculous. They're try it again, or you'll do a comment saying initial app release, right? And then the next day they're okay, this is the initial app release. There was barely a bug in that last one. So but it's good to have something there. Let's see. Fist007 says this is a part of programmer versus developer thing. A programmer knows how to write code, but doesn't know how to build a reliable software because he probably never went through the entire process. While a developer actually knows how to do the entire thing, develops codes, versioning, code management, writing the code, building the, and of course deploying it. Wow, I've never heard of that distinction before, Fist007. I'm always surprised at how many app developers that I've hired or worked with or spoke with have never deployed anything. Like, they don't know that part of it. In fact, it's like, and even like books, like if you get a book on Android development, a lot of times they don't really go into the whole deployment part of it, because it just changes so much. It changes all the time. And I get like, because I release so many apps, like I release more apps than I code, because the developers do it, comes back to me, and I'm just going through, So if it's a Corona application, it's you go compile it and then use application loader to upload it, or now you have to use this command line thing. If I'm using it in Xcode, or if I'm using Ionic, I'll go into Xcode and do package, and then upload it, and it will go, okay, uploading it, and then say, oh, you've already got that version, and gotta do it again. Same with Android. Android, like, it kills me when I don't increment the version number, and I like upload it, go through the whole thing, build it, upload it, go through the whole thing, and it says, oh, you've already got version 23. Oh, go back and do that again. Let me go compile it again. So, but let's see. CoreFunk says, in the case of Fire, commit, git push, git oot. Yes. You know what's kind of weird though? And this is something I found with just this week. Like, I've got the point. I've got some developers who don't want to push the code to Git so that I can review it, because they say they won't give me the code until I pay for the project, right? And it's like, well, it's this trust thing, right? And I kind of get that, right? Like, because that's the only bargaining chip they have. They, how do they know I'm not just going to take their code and run off? But, I'm like, dude, I always pay. Like, I paid every other project, so I've got this thing going on. But no, I like to have frequent Git commits so that we could, just so that I get visibility into it. In fact, that's what the clients hire me for. Let's see. So Jesse says, have you thought of creating a course about app development or how to launch an agency? Jesse, I think about that a lot. I've been watching this. I think about doing a course. In fact, almost a year ago, I bought the domain of Overpass Academy, and I went on Teachable, and I got the top Teachable account, and I paid for my Teachable, which is like a course platform. For like 3 months, I had it, and I was doing the videos every day. So it was like, it wasn't like I was shy to go in front of the camera and do it. It was, and I had an outline, and I did all this stuff. I was going to do it on ASO, so just ASO basics, right? Just something that, I know, yeah. And I think it was kind of in the last few months. Like, I don't want to be somebody who's like always trying to push their course, but like saying, oh yeah, well, I can't tell you that because you have to buy my course. But I do think, maybe doing something. I've had people ask me saying, can you just let's say, I don't want to watch all your videos. Can you just tell me the good stuff? And I was just like, dude, that's not insulting at all, right? I thought it was all good stuff, but so it would be nice to have something that was just targeted and then put as a course, and then it'd be something I could give my clients for also when, because it's, as a developer, there's nothing worse than when a client releases an app, or you release an app for a client and then they don't know what to do. So you're trying to help them a little bit, but it's so yeah. Let's see. Charles Mpanduki says, how are you? Eric, how are you? I'm doing good, Charles. I'm glad you can make it at this new time. Well, it's the same time, but, we covered this. We covered this already. I won't go, don't get me started. CordFunk says, Flutter framework's Dart files are pretty large with a lot of different small classes. The comments are just ridiculous. Yeah, you know what? I love, I think Flutter does really well. I guess a lot of them do it. Well, when you start a project, any project that gives you that one template, but you have to go delete everything with all the comments and everything, and you watch any tutorial on it. It says, okay, first thing, get rid of all this crap. You're not going to call it my app. You're not going to call all this stuff. So that's one of the things. It's like I always change it from my app to something else because I hate the whole my thing. I hate it when a developer gives me code that says my database connection or my my variable or something. I hate that. It was pet peeve from back in the old days. Something that you do in tutorials but not in real life. Shamsula Darman says, hello Eric. Hello Shoshima. Shamsula, sorry. My app got suspension from Google Play for device and network abuse policy. They said the update to your app with a new name and new package ID. There's no update button. Please tell me. So, Shamsula, if they say that, if it's been a suspension, you could try to appeal it to get it turned over, like to get a new one, so that they reactivate it, or you could just release it under a different package name, right? And to me, it depends on how many downloads you have. If it's something where you have really good revenue coming through it, you have lots of users already, you've got all kinds of marketing going to that one page, which was my case when I got suspended. I had all this stuff going to it, and it was like, yeah, I get that I could do a new one. I could start from scratch, but I already have all this momentum there, and I don't want to, I don't want to have a new page. I don't want to start somewhere. I don't want to say when somebody says I bought the app and I can't update it, what's going on? I say, oh, you have to go over here and buy it again at this other URL. So I did appeal it. But if that's the case where they're telling you that, you could just release it again under a different name and a different package ID, right? So that way you're fine. But you make sure you fix whatever it is they think you did wrong so that you don't get suspended again. So Simon Suppertime says those glasses look like you have the word architect in your title. I do. Actually, you know what? Thank you. Let's see. Supreme Cat Support says, I have recently and successfully created the Apple developer account. Any suggestions or any tips? Yeah, Supreme Cat Support. You like a suggestion? You created the account. Have you developed anything yet? Have you uploaded to it? So for me, this is one thing. I am always like, my clients all have to create Apple accounts. Like, I have instructions on how to do it, which I'll send them. And it's not even mine. It's like a link that I have like an email template saying, okay, before we go live, you need to set up an Apple developer account and a Google Play developer account, and then add me as a developer, or add whoever on my team as a developer, so that we can release to your application. Right? They got to the point where Apple was getting really, they don't like it if you release client apps on your own account. That was the Apple guideline 4.2.6 that came out a few years ago, where it really had an effect on companies like Appy Pie and everything, until they changed the language, and then they were able to do all that stuff. So yeah, I would think if you're gonna release something, one thing Supreme Cat Support is, if you're comfortable with it, look at using Fastlane, because Fastlane, which is done by, I can't remember his name, but he's like, I follow him on Twitter. Fastlane is like command line tools. They work for Android too. So like all that stuff you go through, you could do like Fastlane. Let's do this. Let me show you guys. I did a video on it a few years ago, but I think it's fastlane.io. So that is not it. That is somebody taking that domain. Fastlane tools. Here we go. So it's automation. So you can set up all the you could do it with Jenkins and all your continuous integration and everything. But I've never done that. I just do it for the command line. So like I've constantly being like so you can so it's got automate screenshots, which I've never used. But for me, the whole thing is fast. So I do this all the time. Whenever I have a client app or whatever, I don't go into device or into the Apple Developer Center and create the app ID, and then the first of all, the developer certificate, I do that bit, and then I'll create the app ID, and then the provisioning profile, and then the iTunes account. You just do Fastlane produce, so which is really cool. So we'll go through and do all that for you, and then you can run Fastlane Sci, which will download the latest certificates for you, so you don't have to go through and download them. You have the latest version, and if they expire, you just do Fastlane Sci. On the on the Android side, you can run it too, which is like it's not Fastlane Produce, it's Fastlane. Let me see if I can find I'm gonna see if I can find my commands on this. Stop sharing my screen. I'm just gonna open up. I like it. So I got a lot of stuff on Evernote. So from like I have like I'm constantly. Let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger. So I've got like Fastlane produce, which is on the iOS side. Fastlane Sci. Oh yeah, Fastlane deliver init. Initialize, so that will actually take your Google Play account and download everything, including your screenshots. So like doing screenshots, you know how on Google Play Developer Console where you have to go and drag them on all those different languages and everything, you can just have download them, into a folder, go through, do all your manipulations of the folder, all your language files, everything like that, get all the translations, everything you need to do, and then run Fastlane. It's Fastlane Supply. Yeah, you run Fastlane Supply again, and it will upload that to. It will upload all those changes. So, and you can even do it so it uploads the APK. So you can do like everything without having to go through the console. And it's like it saves so much time if you do a lot of applications. So, and like I do everything through the command line. I don't think there's anything here that I need to worry about. You guys seeing. Let's see. But yeah, that would be my tip. Is like if you're comfortable with that, because using Google Play is much using Google Play Developer Console is much easier than using the iOS Developer Console. This week, speaking of iOS, I had so much trouble with iOS this week. Right, for some reason, all my certificates are crashing on my phone, my developer builds, and so one of these things where you're in Stack Overflow. There's you probably got to corrupt such and such file. You probably got this. Just go into this and do this. I'm like following this thread of stuff where. Like the clients are chasing me for this this update on this application, but I can't run it in dev mode on my iOS 13 devices. They work on older devices, so it's one of these things that I need to check out. Let's see, where was I? Shamsula says how to write an appeal to solve this problem. So we're talking about your suspension. What I would do, Shamsula, and again, if you don't have a lot of users, I wouldn't worry about it. Just create another one. But if you do and you need to appeal it, what I would say is just appeal to the fact that you have users that depend on your application, right? They're not doing it for you. You're not asking them for you. You're saying, look, these are users who use Android who really benefit from this application. So that's where I would go with that, and that's what I have done with that in the past. Like I'm just like totally selfless, like hey, it's not about me. It's not about restoring my application. Think of the users. Think of those poor users who don't get to use this application because you guys want to just go off on one. I mean, don't say it like that, but you know what I mean. It's not about you. It's not about them. It's about the users. No Reason Channel. Love that name. Says, hi, how you doing? I've been looking to catch your live stream. Good, I'm glad you made it. I was about to sleep when I saw you online, and now I'm here. All right, cool. I hope I'm not putting you to sleep, No Reason Channel. Because I do that. Augustin Thomas Largy says, hi, Eric. What do you think is the next game changer on mobile? MLIA? Yeah, both of those. See, a lot of that stuff I think is going to be more server-based. Machine learning and AI, you mean, right? So a lot of that's going to be server based. Right now, I'm really, and this is like not new, but like I really like the biometrics that they're putting in. Like just it's so easy to put facial recognition into an app now. Like I'm wondering why we don't do it for all of our applications. But I definitely think when you talk about machine learning, I think that's definitely the game changer, just across the board, right? You're thinking like there's so many jobs. Like there's so many, like as a developer, right? Just like as software developers, you ever look at somebody going, I could like replace this guy with code, right? You just because you could, like a lot of things, you just like there's not a lot of creative thinking involved in it. It's just if this then do that, if this then do that, if this then that, right? And if there's a problem, then like when you go to this, I don't know if it's the same wherever you guys are living, but like the supermarket where you go and you just self-service checkout, right? They're the self-service thing, and if there's a problem, then the red light comes on, right? You're just gonna need a technician to take care of the red light, right? So that's the way it is now. When it comes to AI and machine learning, where they can actually learn from these kind of things, then even that's gonna be like even that's not going to be necessary anymore. Even the things that do require a bit of creative thinking and creative problem solving won't be so necessary. So that's one of, and that's more on a macro scale. Like when I think about like in terms of mobile, like this is the kind of stuff I think about when I think how can we use machine learning in mobile? Because I'm so limited. Like when I think about on the device on your phone, I'm thinking you can recognize Chinese characters, you can recognize somebody draws, you can recognize. You take a picture of something, you could tell. Well, I still think the license plate recognition is really cool, and that's like so minor compared to what it could do. Going back to the courses thing though, there's this channel I've been watching lately called CoffeeZilla. I don't know if you guys have seen it. He has this series called Fake Gurus where he talks about like Dan Lok and Ty Lopez and a lot of other like fake gurus. Those just kind of put me off doing a course. There's another one because you think they're all so scammy and sleazy. And lately he did one on what's his name? Sorrell, the machine learning guy, the guy who does all the ones about AI and machine learning and TensorFlow. I can't remember his name, but he's like I watched a lot of his videos, like really impressed with him, and apparently he does a lot of plagiarizes a lot of stuff. It was really interesting. If you guys have a look, but it's called CoffeeZilla. It's a really good channel. I don't know the guy, but it's just like it's one of the things like on a Sunday morning where I'm just like on my iPad, just passing the time. Like I just love watching that. I think I just something about watching somebody pull back the curtain on somebody else is really cool. I mean, that's my thing. Let's see. Mega Man 2016 says, "Hi Eric, have you ever managed to get UTM tracking working on Google Play?" No, I haven't. UTM tracking. Ooh, okay, this is one where I'm gonna UTM tracking. UTM stands for. I haven't even tried it. Oh, the tracking the codes that come through. No, I've never really tried anything like that. I mean, I've only used it. I think the only tracking I've done is where we have Firebase. Well, we have Firebase in it so that we can do the universal ad campaign, so we can track the conversions, or UTM, yeah, okay. So we can track the conversions, or have the same thing with Facebook, have the Facebook SDK so you can track the conversions from that. But I've never done like the full campaign URL type thing to track it through. It hasn't even occurred to me. God, I'm such a noob. I don't know. Yeah. Let's see. ChordFunk says, I think Google actually said explicitly that you should not check in your JKS files. Yeah, they do. I know, but it makes sense. But I mean, well, you check in. So Google says you shouldn't check in your JKS files. All right, well. John Mollahan. Hey, John, how's it going? Last week you did a shout out to my twins, Maggie and Lucy. Now the noses of my other two daughters are out of joint. To restore the balance of my house, could you please give a shout out to Alice and Jenny? Hello, Alice. Hello, Jenny. Glenn Ferris says, hey, Eric. Hey, Glenn, how's it going? Sarjeev Raj, how are you? I'm good, thanks. Hussein Gokas, hey, did you guys all drive in together? You guys all showed up at the same time. Let's see, where was I? Manly Celicourt. Hey, Manly, how's it going? It says, is starting an app marketing agency worth it? Do app owners even outsource that? I'm good at marketing for medical clinics, but I love apps and wanted to get in the niche as well. I've talked to people in marketing before, and my whole thing was I think it's an underserved market. I know there's a few app like ASO companies out there, but I think there's a lot of there's so many SEO companies, and I think ASO it's the kind of thing where I can think of a few big names in ASO. They're all really expensive, and I think if you could offer that kind of service to people, I think there's a lot of developers who would be interested in it, to be honest with you. Because it's overwhelming. It is overwhelming if you go into Sensor Tower and you do all the keyword research and you're changing things on a day-to-day basis and you're just constantly just tweaking this and that, right? But the thing I don't like about, and the reason why, so this is why I've never outsourced ASO work, is because I don't like it's because I have a doubt that they could do it. Like the same way when someone calls me up and says we can get you on the front page of Google, and I'm thinking, and I say no, and they say, what are you saying? You don't want to be on the first page of Google? It's like, no, I just don't think you could actually do it, right? I'm going to give you a bunch of money, and then you're going to say, oh, sorry, you couldn't do it, right? So it's like, and that's one of the things I think, because I don't know how you could guarantee success in that, but I do think a lot of people could use help in it, right? And I think just being somebody being somebody who, like, if you could establish your voice in the ASO community, like as somebody who knows what you're talking about, almost like who's the big SEO guy? Neil Patel, right? He's putting all this stuff out there, right? He's constantly talking about it, and you know he's got to be good, right? As opposed to the guy who cold calls you in the middle of the afternoon. Speaking of cold calls, I got one yesterday from some marketing company. He's tried to call a few times in the past, but he was whole thing like lead generation. I get a lot of lead generation companies call me saying, "Would you like more leads for your business?" And I said I was looking at your website this morning, and and I noticed we can help you out because we can help bring new leads into your business. And I always like, nah, I don't need new leads. I'm fine, right? And it's like, are you serious? You couldn't use like a big lead like like a huge brand as one of your clients? I'm like, nah, and it wasn't because I didn't want that. Of course I wanted that. Who wouldn't want that? It's like I didn't believe he could deliver on it, right? If he was so good at marketing, why is he calling me? So why aren't I just finding him? So but yeah, so that's the whole thing with ASO and SEO companies. Like, it's that doubt. Like, can they actually do what they say they're gonna do? And a lot of times, I think I'm just skeptical on that kind of stuff. Let's see. Augustin Thomas Largay says, do you scan your apps for vulnerabilities? I've been using OWASP, a Grado plugin, to scan my app for the security vulnerabilities seem bogus. Do you know any tech/platform? I'll check it for things that I know about. I don't... like one of the big vulnerabilities I found with web view based applications was that you could just download it. You could go to like APK Pure and download the APK and then change the APK to .apk to .zip, and then you could just go into it. And I do this all the time. Like, I had a client contact me last week, or possible new client, saying they don't have the source code. So can you have a look at it? And I thought, let me just check this, see if I could, if it is a web view based application. Sometimes you can tell by looking at it, but sometimes you can't. And if it's done well, you can't tell the difference. So I downloaded it, and it was all DEX files. So and I know there's decompiling programs out there, but I think the things that scare me the most are stuff that transmits like data over like passwords and stuff like that. Like you don't know what it's sending out, and that's more. I'm more distrusting of the developers' like intentions, or even just the developers being incompetent, than anything else. Let's see. Fist007 says, let me know if I didn't answer that properly. In fact, if I don't answer any question properly, just say, yo, Eric, don't let me off the hook, right? Keep me on my toes, right? Let's see. Fist007 says, how would you handle a case where the client asks for you to add some features to their app which has a very, very, very old code base, and you don't want to touch it again? Dude, have you been watching me this week? No, I do have one that keeps coming back, and I was like, it was like an early project. Well, there's a few that like, if it's an early project, and I just definitely wasn't charging enough, and like I can't give it to another developer because I was like so integral into it. So it's kind of me who has to do it, but at the same time, like, to me to go back with a higher price, it's like, what? But the whole thing only costs this. So you're saying the update's going to cost that? And you're like, yeah, but I lost money on this to begin with. It's difficult. When you have these like really small fixes to do, and it's almost like not worth giving it to another developer, because you have to pay the developer to learn the code so that they can make these changes. So yeah, I get that a lot. But still, ultimately, that small project, that small fix might lead to a much larger project, or much larger fix. In fact, I have some clients where when I go back and I'll say this will cost like to make this change, it'll cost whatever, 600 pounds or, 1,000 pounds or 3,000 pounds, whatever it is. And they'll come back and say, can you do it for, 500, or can you do it for this? And then a lot of times I'll just say, sometimes I'll say yes. And because I'm too nice. That's like when I write my that's what I wanted to say on my tombstone. Eric, he was too nice. He was too nice the whole time through. But like sometimes I'll still say yes, but a lot of times I'll say no. I just can't do it for that. And they just come back with more. So when am I drinking tea or coffee? I'm drinking coffee. You know why? Because I'm American. Damn it. I've been here so long, and I don't drink tea very often. I know a lot of Americans drink tea. Like sometimes I'll have green tea at night, but I do drink a lot of coffee in the day. Augustin Thomas Largy says, also pro tip about Fastlane: if you move from one CI platform to another, you can reuse your Fastlane scripts. I did it when moving from Circle CI to Azure DevOps. Super simple. Yeah, Augustin, I think you're way more advanced than me. I know you can do those lanes. I've never done lanes in Fastlane. I've always just done like the commands. Like it's almost like like I said, I copy and paste from Evernote. So let's see. Harry D says, Eric, what are the minimum grades you look for when hiring people? I don't really look at grades. It's like I had bad grades. I had really bad grades in high school. I had really bad grades. I had better grades when I went to college and I went to university because I'd been through the Army, and I think I got a bit more disciplined. But I don't think any of that's really that important. I mean, if you could, I think like if somebody were to come to me and they had like a really good portfolio and they could say like, I know what I'm talking about, then that would be something that, the grades wouldn't matter. Now, if somebody came to me and they said, they have no experience and they have no portfolio and they've done no reading on the topic and they've done nothing, then it's like, then it gets tricky because you think, well, because you could get them for cheap, obviously, they won't be expensive, but then you're like, then you got to teach them how to do everything. And then it comes to like, then you have to evaluate the learning capabilities. And like grades are like the only identifier you have on those learning capabilities. And I nearly didn't make it through high school. My dad always says he didn't think I was going to make it through because I went to summer school every year. I could talk about this now because 2 of my kids are in university, but for a long time I won't talk about this. I went to summer school every year. Because I always fail at least one class, but usually it was 2, and I got a lot of D's. Like the D was just like the scraping up along the side. I don't think I've ever gotten an A like when I was in high school, and it wasn't because I was a bad student. It wasn't because I was stupid. It was just like I just didn't see the point, and I would skip school a lot. I was like this almost feels bad to like admit this now, but I would miss a lot of school. Just like you walk into school and then you think, there's the bus, I'll just go to the movies or whatever. It's Southern California, you just go to the beach, sleep on a bench at the beach. Oh, so cool. But usually by myself. And I think it was mainly because I was kind of just like a loner. Like there was a shy kid in school, so I didn't really have very many friends. I'd have a few really good friends depending on where I was living, but we'd move around a lot. So it's always felt like an outcast, like they all seem to get it and I don't. And I just kind of convinced myself I was stupid, right? So it was like that's why university, I didn't go straight to university. I thought I generally wasn't smart enough for university, because that's the way teachers talk in high school. They say, if you don't apply yourself, you're not gonna be able to get into university, because they don't mess around over it. You can't get away at university with what you get away with here, because they're really strict about it over there. And then you think, oh, obviously I can't make it at university. And then so after the Army, then I do go to university, and I realize that was all BS. Like, of course, now I didn't go to Oxford, I didn't go to Cambridge. I went to I went to San Antonio. First, I went to Leeward Community College in Hawaii. Then I went to San Antonio Community College in Texas, and then I went to University of Texas San Antonio, and I graduated at Central Missouri State University. Like, not the most prestigious of schools, but still, it was like they took themselves seriously. They were like, there was no professor who thought, I'm not going to make sure these guys apply themselves, right? They were, they're professors. They're still the cream of the crop for their area. So just to go off on that. So I don't think too much about that, Harry. I am hiring. So this week, this is one of the things I have a business coach, and I have these things I'm supposed to do each week, and one of them is I wrote a job spec last week, so I'm trying to get a graduate lower level developer to help out here, like actually working in the office. So it was like somebody in the area. So I wrote the job spec and everything like that, and I need to put it on the job boards and everything like that. I know. So I know every time I say I have a job, people say, send me CVs, but like this is like a really like entry level, lower, somebody who's just out of university, or has a bit of coding experience, but like it's very low level, like because I can't afford at this point, like can't afford to hire somebody who's like at $50,000 a year. So it's one of the things that I'm doing. Say, Fist 007 says, what time is it in the UK, Eric? So I don't know when you asked, but right now it is 6:05 p.m. I missed one. Cord Funk says, the first thing you do when an iOS project is not working is clean out the build, close Xcode, restart my crappy Mac and crappy iPhone. After a lot of swearing. I think I need to do that. Maybe that's all I had to do. It was like hours of just like, I hate this thing. My phone is not working. I don't know if it's my phone. I don't know if it's whatever. It works on that old phone, but it doesn't work on my iPad. I don't know if it's my certificates. I don't know if it's the dev build. I don't know if it's, because if it's just my phone, then I can still push it to the clients and say, can you give it a try? And then they could have it go. Or I don't know what it is, but Kumar Ashok as Singh says, I published my brand new app and I want to get some downloads. Give me some marketing strategies. Kumar, give us the link. Let's have a look at it here, because we're all grown ups. We can have a look at it here. Cordfug says, if there's a problem, you log it, or wrap. If you or try catch block and log it. Siraj Raval, that was it. Cordfug, it was Siraj. He was it was a bummer to hear about all that stuff. I'm sorry, I'm way behind on I ramble. Well, you guys know that. You guys know I ramble. Charles Impaduki says, I didn't know about the Google Console Android app until recently. Now I get notifications on my phone when users interact with my app on the store. Kind of cool. Yeah, that didn't used to be there. It used to be like you used to have to go into Google Play. I mean, this is like years ago. Like we're talking like 2013, 2014, where you have to go in and like physically, check every single app to see if there's been a new review come in. Let's see. Rodrigo says he was able to make UTM management work before. Rodrigo says, Eric, to hide your WebView code, use Cordova Uglify. You can also see Android. You can also see Android code. That's true. Fistolo says, I love the strategy. If you don't want to touch it, overcharge for it. The client is willing to pay anyway. You'll get the B's. Yeah, but at the same time, Fist 007, it's easy to say that, saying, I'll just charge, like, if I don't want to do it, I'll just, for this update, I'll just charge this huge amount. But at the same time, they came to you initially. Like, you could do it faster, quicker than anybody else can, because you're the one who worked on the previous code, and you're kind of like, you're their guy, right? They could have gone to any app developer in the world, and they came to you. So you're like, so you feel that kind of like, I really, I need to get that done, but or somehow or find somebody to do it or do something. So it's not like you just like I don't want to do it anymore, because they could have gone anywhere and they came to you. So you feel that kind of like, it's like being. I imagine if I ever need to get a lawyer, I'd want the lawyer to be like 100% on my side, right? And that's what it is. Like when somebody hires you as a developer, you're like, you're their guy, right? And if they ever have if you ever have like a difficult client where they're going off on you or they're like being unreasonable with you, remind them of that. Like, dude, I'm on your side. I'm on your side here, right? And if you want to push me away, then you have nobody on your side. I've done that before. I did that before on I was doing tech support for this one company I was working back in like ages. Like this guy would call up and he would shout and scream, and I was like, I would calm him down, and he would like, it was like it wasn't even like an app we were doing. It was like some other, like there was a hardware terminal, and I was just doing the web application development for this company, but I was also answering tech support. And this terminal, like the hardware, it was so like it never worked. It was so buggy. And this one guy would call up and he would get so angry and he'd be shouting, but he would say, Eric, I know it's not your fault, but blah, 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 right? And one time he got so but then I would comment and say, Eric, I really appreciate it, whatever. I was reading all the NLP books at the time, trying to get better, like, just change my tones, like, be very, empathetic, because there was nothing I could do except tell the hardware developers, like, dude, you guys need to fix this, because, people are really angry, and they're like, oh, he's just using it wrong or whatever. Kind of that, when you're stuck in the middle of stuff. And then one time he went on me so bad that I just told him, I said, Mr. whatever, I'll say Mr. Smith, right now I'm the only person here on your side, and you're about to lose me. And he was like, he did, calm down, because it was like, so yeah, sometimes you need, like, your clients, you're their guy, right? You're on their side 100%. When they make that decision to go with you, it shouldn't be adversarial. It should be like, yeah, I want to give you everything you want. Every change you ask for, I want to give it to you, but I can't, right? It's like, because it's going to cost more time, it's going to be more money, it's going to be that, but yeah, I want to do it. Like I hate saying no to my clients. I do. Like, again, my tombstone is going to say, Eric, he was too nice. But, like, I hate saying no to my clients. I don't want to say no to my clients unless I absolutely have to. Let's see. Oh, yeah, the Dex 2 jar tool Rodrigo mentioned. Yeah, I've seen that too. I haven't used it, though, yet. Let's see. Fist007 says, why go to school when you go to the bench on the beach? No, I used to go to, it was South San Diego. It was like, so I went to Montgomery High School, and then I went to Castle Park High School, and so I've changed schools a couple times. And I would get on the bus, and I would go to downtown Chula Vista and watch it, just catch the matinee, right? Sometimes you have to hang around because they didn't start till like 11, and just go see a movie. And the people who worked at the cinema never said anything. But, it was their job. And back in those days, you had double features, so it was like, excellent, just go the whole day. But, like, I don't condone it, especially not for my children, if they ever see this. Let's see, where was I? Sharon Alexander, hey Sharon, sorry, says, other than AdMob, which ad networks do you recommend? Have you used rewarded ads, and how do they perform? Yes, I do use rewarded ads, and they work pretty well. One of the things is you have to make sure that you check to see that there is an ad to show before you actually make it available to them. So, like, if you say watch this video, and then you'll get whatever, a treat, coins, or unlock a feature or something like that. One of the mistakes I made early on was saying you have to watch 10 videos, and then you'll get this feature unlocked. And then they would get like 6 videos in, and there would be nothing else to show. Like, the inventory was gone, right? And then I got so many nasty comments on that. That didn't work at all. Let's see. Simon Summertime says, Eric, do you know of any apps that make revenue from direct ad sales, like not through AdMob, etc.? I personally, I don't know of any. I've tried to do it with house ads before. Like, I tried to use house ads that link directly to affiliate links, but they never really worked much for me. I mean, a house ad itself is it could be for anything. It could be like you could do an ad there and do it to somebody else. One of the AdMob events I went to years ago, they were talking about how the progression should be: you start with AdMob, and you've got the ads that they give you, and then once your app gets a bit larger, you can start directly approaching like advertisers or people who could advertise within your app. Because if your app is about fishing, or if it's a fishing game or something like that, then rather than just have AdMob in there, which should in some ways try to give the ads that they think your users want, but if you were to say, take that app, say I've got 50,000 users and they would love what you have in your shop, then they would probably pay a lot more than AdMob would. And you'd either do it based on the number of impressions, or just say, like, for the month you could do it, so like a sponsorship type of thing. But I haven't personally. I don't know anybody who's done that. Sheila says, I have an app on the Play Store, Go Scholar, information and article search, but it's not ranking. Please tell me any tips on how to increase apps and make it rank on Google Play. Oh, this is the first time we've looked at an app today. So I'm going to share my screen. So the app is called Go Scholar. I feel bad I'm talking about skipping school just now. We're talking about looking up Go Scholar. Go Scholar. Let's see. So Sheila, Go Scholar. Hang on. I just want to make sure it's the right one. Information and article search. Article search. Wow. Do they? I mean, the fact that the name is the same as this one, does it have a? Does it give you a different? Okay, so we say it's not ranking for anything. So let's have a look. Fantasy model says this. We've got 50 plus downloads released on the 1st of November, version 1.4. So like I like the fact that you have information and article search, but I think if those words are too over full, then you might try something else. So it says Scholar Engine. A Scholar Engine provides a simple and free way to broadly search for scholarly literature. So I like the screenshots. They're very informative. Also search across wiki, encyclopedia, search. Is that 2 C's? Across the largest general reference work on the inter. Yeah, I think you should look at the spelling on some of these things, just because. But again, talk about the A, B's, and C's. A, they have to find the application. So if it's not showing up in search, then I want to worry about the screenshots. But if they do go into it, you don't want them to have a bad experience. I love the way that you're saying in the screenshots what it does, but I think the spelling errors are going to be like that might give a bad impression, especially for scholars, right? And then so number one, it has to get discovered, which means it has to be searchable, or the keyword searches and everything. So let's have a look at this in App Annie. We'll check out App Annie. Okay, log in. So we'll have a look at this application, Scholar Engine Supercat. All right, let's just go into this. See if we can just. For some reason, it's not showing up a search, but let's go back. It's Google Play we need to look at. Yeah, it's not showing up here either, is it? It's really weird. Let's go into any random one and change the URL. See if that gets us there. Okay, here we go. Why is it so difficult to search for this? It's difficult to search for on App Annie too. So let's go to ASO. What are we ranking for anything? Let's have a look at that. Let's go to United States. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be ranking for any keywords. However, let's look at the timeline. This app summary. So we've got current release. How many releases have we had of this? Is it just the one? Is 1.4 the first version? Why am I not seeing anything else? If it was just released today, then I think you might need to wait a few days on that, Sheila. If you're still here. Let's see. UK Baz says, does your Overpass website convert well for new clients? Does it get a lot of traffic? Do you think you're missing out on some leads? My 2 cents, think it lacks your personality, fun, and knowledgeable. Yeah, I think every time I look at it, I think we need to change it. It probably doesn't. I didn't want it to look like just like, hey, I'm Eric. Hey, I'm Eric. I make apps. Like as soon as you get to our website. So it probably could do with a little bit of work. Glenn Ferris says, I had a nightmare with the whole iOS 13 Catalina and deploying to Xcode 11.2. It's been a shit show. I think I'm having the same thing. I'm just like, I am so fed up with it. I'm not. It's not just doing the compilation because I got other stuff to do. I can't just sit here and try to debug what's wrong with the latest Xcode version. Like, I got clients saying, hey, where are we with this thing? And I'm like, oh, can't build it. It compiles. It just, and one thing I hate about iOS, when it loads on the phone, everything's good. Crash. Like, just splash screen crash. Doesn't tell you anything. Like, it could give you a pop-up, could give you something. It knows it's running in debug mode, right? It should be able to give you something. Not crash, right? Screw you, developer. You figure it out on your own. Let's see. Augustine says, are you guys... where is it? Augustine says, are you guys still using APKs to submit your apps to Play Store, or have you changed to app bundles? I want to switch to app bundles, but I'm a bit worried about the side loading bugs. I still use APKs. UK Baz says, welcoming manner. Let's see. Fisto was like, damn, you just put on my smile on my face with "you're about to lose me" story. Yeah, it's true. You're like, I do think that a lot of times I talk to develop because, I mean, sometimes working with clients, you have clients that you just really get on well with, or you have clients that it's a bit more like it seems like they don't trust you sometimes, right? And sometimes you just have to remind them that I'm on your side, right? You want a really good app. I want you to have a really good app, right? We both want the same thing. Nobody wants to fail here, right? We both want this to be good. So sometimes you just have to remind them that. Let's see. Core function. My tombstone will be a stack trace with a null pointer exception. Let's see. Simon Suppertime says, you're pushing on an hour and a half live stream, and we love it, but don't you want your tombstone to read, Eric was too nice and he starved to death on 11/1 doing his live stream? Yeah, I should probably get going. Yeah, get some. It's takeaway night, Friday night takeaway night. So get something. It's gonna be nasty. Oh, it's gonna be nasty. It's gonna be greasy, fattening. It's gonna be like I want post dinner shame. Whatever I get, whether it's pizza or fish and chips or whatever. It's a Friday night. Maddie to Jake. Hey Maddie, how's it going? Says if you don't know about it already, you should really check out App Game Kit Studio. It's a cross-platform, fully featured game and app dev tool. I'm not connected with them. I just think it's great. Cool. I'll check it out. And side loading bugs. Let's see. And UK Baz says, will you ever live code an app on YouTube so we can watch from start to end, maybe a mini series? I definitely think that would be boring. It was hard enough getting up the courage to do the live stream. I think if I did the code, it would be like, why is that not working? Why is that? And but maybe we could do something like that. But I think it's like. Yeah, I promise the fear. I don't want to let you down, because I code from time to time, but I code from time to time, but my days of being the super alpha coder, where it's we're gonna do this exactly. We change our name our variables exactly the way it should be. Literally, those days, I'm not so stressed out about those kind of things anymore, as I used to be. So let's see. Let's have the best comment contest in the stream. Fat is important for brain development. That's my excuse, at least. That's right. Brain development. My brain is struggling. I need some fat. UK Baz. Nope. The process would be good. We all Google stuff. Cool. On Twitch. I'll do it on Twitch, Rodrigo. Rodrigo, I think I'm too old for Twitch. I think that and Discord, right? I think people say you should go on Discord, and it passed me by, man. Anyway, thanks everybody for joining on the live stream this week. Tomorrow, there'll be the Overpass Insights tomorrow. I don't know what it'll be about yet because I haven't recorded it yet, but I'm going to try to get one done tomorrow so I get that out there for the normal Saturday video. And we'll do the live stream next week at the same time, which I know the clocks will change again in the States. So depending on where you live, it might be a bit different. So check your local listings. And that's it. Have a great weekend. Thanks so much for joining me today, guys. And I'll talk to you guys next time. Have a good weekend.